Hilchas Zechia Umatana chapter 10:1. When a Shechina says give money to so and so, the money should be given after the dying man's death. The rationale is that the words of the Shechina are considered as if they have been recorded in a legal document, and the property concerned had already been transferred. We do not suspect the Shechina was referring to a buried money. 2. Similarly, if a Shechina states, "I have loaned money or entrusted an object to so and so, gave it to this and this person," his words are binding, and a ma'amad shlashim is not required. Similarly, if the Shechina says give so and so this particular promissory note, the recipient acquires debt mentioned in the promissory note, as if the Shechina wrote the transfer on the promissory note and gave it to the intended recipient, even though the promissory note was not actually transferred. An heir does not have to waive payment of a promissory note that was given as about the Shechina. Why is it that when a person sells or gives a promissory note to a colleague and an heir waives payment, the waiver is binding, while Shechina portions of promissory notes about the Shechina, an heir cannot waive payment? The rationale is that the transfer of a promissory note is a rabbinic ordinance. Therefore, according to the scriptural law, promissory note still belongs to the heir. Thus, his waiver of it is of consequence. The transfer of the gift given by Shechina is also a rabbinic ordinance. Nevertheless, in this instance, our sages reinforced the decision and conveyed upon it the power of scriptural law. Thus, it is as if the recipient acquired the money mentioned in the promissory note according to scriptural law, and the money already reached his possession. Thus, the heir no longer possesses any right to it. Therefore, he cannot waive its payment. 3. The following was applied when the Shechina states there was a money belonging to so-and-so in my possession. If he says give it to him, it should be given to him. If it does not make such a statement, it should not be given to him. We suspect that perhaps he made his original statement only so that it would not be said that his heirs are wealthy. 4. Therefore, if Shechina made the statement that a sincere acknowledgement, there was no suspicion of subterfuge, the money should be given to the person mentioned, even though the Shechina did not explicitly state that it should be given to him. 5. Similarly, the following was applied if the witness observed a father hiding money in his drawer, a chest, or a tower, and he says it belonged to so-and-so. They are meiser sheni. If it appears that he is conveying his desires for the use of the money, his words are upheld. If it appears that he is being deceptive, his statements are of no consequence. 6. The rabbis also discussed a similar situation. If a person came and told sons, "I saw your father hide money in a drawer, a chest, or a tower," and he said it belongs to so-and-so, it is meiser. The money is hidden in the son's house, his statements are of no consequence. If it is in a field, his word should be upheld. The general principle is that whenever the witness could have taken the money if he wanted to, his words are upheld. If he could not have, his statements are of no consequence. 7. Incident occurred when a person was upset because of money that he knew his father had left him, but he did not know where his father hid it. He was told in a dream there was so-and-so much money, they are in this place, but they belong to so-and-so, or they are meiser sheni. He found the exact sum of money in the place it was told to him. The question was brought before the sages, and they said, words from dreams neither avail nor impair. 8. When the Shechina acknowledged that he owes so-and-so a money, and afterwards the orphan state at a later date, our father told us that he paid the debt, their word is accepted. They must, however, take a shvus has to confirm their claim. 9. If whoever the Shechina says give the money to so-and-so, when making the acknowledgement, the statement cannot be retracted, even if the orphan state at a later date, our father told us that he paid the debt, their words are not accepted. 10. If Shechina says I owe so-and-so a money, and after his death, the heirs say we gave it to him, their statements are not accepted. Since the Shechina did not to give it, how would they know if they were obligated to give it? 11. If the dying man said to give so-and-so the money owed to him, and the heirs claim to have paid the debt, the heirs are believed, they must, whoever take a shvus has a 12. The following was applied when Shechina gives money to a third party and tells him bring this money to so-and-so, and the third party goes to the designated recipient and finds that he has died. If the recipient was alive at the time the Shechina gave the money to the third party, she give it to the heirs of the intended recipient. The rationale is that the words of the Shechina are considered as if they have been recorded in a legal document and the object concerned already transferred. If the intended recipient was not alive at that time, third party should return the money to the heirs of the principal, for a deceased person cannot acquire property. 13. When Shechina says give 200 zuz to so-and-so, 300 zuz to so-and-so, and 400 zuz to so-and-so, we do not say the first person mentioned in the legal record of his statement receives the portion first. Instead, if the estate does not contain 900 zuz, it is divided proportionally, and if a promissory note is issued against the estate, the creditor expropriates from all recipients proportionally. What is implied? If the debt was for 450 zuz, the person granted 200 receives 100, the person granted 300 receives 150, the person granted 400 gives 200. 14. If whoever the Shechina says give 200 zuz to so-and-so, afterwards give 300 zuz to so-and-so, and then 400 to so-and-so, whoever is mentioned first in the legal record is granted priority. Therefore, if a promissory note against the estate is brought up, the creditor should expropriate the money from the last recipient. If his holdings are not sufficient to satisfy the debt, the creditor should expropriate the money from the one mentioned before him. If his holdings are also not sufficient, the creditor should expropriate the money from the last mentioned before the second to last recipient. 15. Shechina says, let so-and-so live in this house, or let so-and-so partake of the fruit of this palm tree. His words are of no significance. The rationale is that he did not transfer an object of substance for living and eating, or not like speech and sleep, which cannot be transferred. However, the Shechina says give this house to so-and-so so that he may live in it, or give so-and-so this tree so that he may partake of its fruits. The statements are effective. The rationale is that he transferred the entity itself mentioned in the gift with the intent that the benefit be derived. This entity is an object of substance. Similar laws apply in all analogous situations. Hilchos Zechia Matana chapter 11:1. When the Shechina says this property of mine should be given to Banai, his daughters are not included among the recipients, even when the descendants of the Shechina include only one son and a daughter, or one son and the son of another one. He should, and use the expression Banai, which is a plural term, the estate should be given to his son alone, for one son can be referred to as my sons. 2. When the Shechina says my property should be given to Tuvia and then dies, and a person named Tuvia comes and claims the estate should be given to him. If whoever is established the claim is referred to as Rav Tuvia, the estate should not be given to him. Nevertheless, the Shechemida be familiar with the claimant and be on first name basis with him, the estate should be given to him, even although he is generally referred to as Rav Tuvia. 3 of the following principles apply when 2 claimants come and it's established that they are both called Tuvia. If one of them is a Torah scholar and the other is not a Torah scholar, receives precedence. If neither of them is a Torah scholar, but one is a neighbor or relative, or the neighbor or relative receives precedence. But if one is a neighbor and the other is a relative, the neighbor is given precedence. If both of the claimants are relatives, neighbors, or Torah scholars, the judges should act on their own assessment of the circumstances. The estate should be given to the claimant who they think the deceased intended. Similar principles apply if there are several intended recipients. 4. If the Shechemida says my property should be given to so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so, the intended recipient should divide the estate equally. This applies even if 100 people are mentioned. 5. When the Shechemida says my property should be given to so-and-so and to my sons, the estate should be divided between them. The person named receives half, and all the sons together receive the other half. The incident occurred concerning a person whose wife, my property should be given to you and to my sons. As I just said, she should receive half the estate, and the sons should receive the other half. 6. The Shechemida says my property should be given to so-and-so and to so-and-so and to the sons of so-and-so. The sons of so-and-so receive half of the estate, and the other 2 people mentioned receive the other half. 7. When Shechemida says so-and-so should receive a portion of my property, he should receive half. When he says give a portion of property to so-and-so, he should be given 1/16. There are those who maintain that he should be given 1/4 of the estate. 8. If the Shechemida says give so-and-so a portion of the wine that I possess, the person named should be given 1/4 of wine. If he says give him a portion of the wine to pour into jugs, he has diminished the person's hair. The person named should be given 1/8 of the wine. If he says to give a portion of the wine for cooking, the person named should be given 1/12 of the wine. If he says give him a portion of wine for a small cup, the person named should be given 1/16 of the wine, for he revealed that his intent was to give him merely a small portion. Sorry, that person's share. Okay. 9. One should not extrapolate from the measures mentioned with regard to any other matters. 10. When Shechemida says, let my wife receive a portion like one of the sons, she should be given the portion size of that given to each of the sons. If sons are born to the deceased after he has made this deposition of his property, they were added to the sons who existed at the time the will was made, and she receives a portion equal to that given to each of them. What is implied that Shechemida had 3 sons at the time he made a will, and 2 more sons were born at the time afterwards. She should be given a portion equal to that of 5 sons, i.e., 1/6 of the estate. 11. If the widow receives a portion only from the property, that was deceased owned at the time he made his will, since she did not receive a portion of any property he acquires after the will was made. The rationale is that a person cannot transfer ownership of an entity that is not in his possession. 12. When Shechemida says so-and-so should receive movable property that he own, the person named should receive his personal utensils. He is not, however, given wheat, barley, or other similar entities that the deceased owned. If whoever receives all the movable property that the other person named receives everything. 13. Servants are included in the category of movable property, but not the lower millstone. But the lower millstone is attached to you. 14. The Shechemida says everything that can be carried. The intended recipient requires even a lower millstone and similar objects. 15. When the Shechemida says give my property to so-and-so, that person receives all his movable property, all his landed property, the garment, servants, livestock, fowl, tefillin, and the other sacred text. For these are all considered to be property. There is, however, an unresolved question of whether or not a Torah scroll is considered to be property. Therefore, if a recipient takes possession of it, it should not be expropriated from him. 16. When the Shechemida says give 200 zuz to so-and-so, but my firstborn as his property, for him should be given that sum as well as his portion as a firstborn. 17. In the above situation, the Shechemida says give 200 zuz as his firstborn portion. The firstborn is given the option he may take the firstborn portion, or he may take the 200 zuz. 18. Similarly, if the Shechemida says give 200 zuz to my wife and so-and-so, as is fitting for her, she receives that son of the money due her by virtue of her ksuba. If he says give her 200 zuz for her ksuba, the option is hers. 19. If the Shechemida says give 200 zuz to so-and-so by creditor, as is fitting for him, he receives that sum and the money due him because of the debt. If he says give him 200 zuz for his debt, he may collect only his debt. 20. If the Shechemida says give 400 zuz to so-and-so and let him marry my daughter, is as if he gave him 2 gifts. Whichever he desires, he may take. Therefore, if he desires to take the money but not marry his daughter, he may do so. However, the Shechemida says let him take my daughter and give him 400 zuz, he is making the gift conditional. The person mentioned does not acquire the gift unless he marries the daughter. 21. The following principles apply. If the Shechemida said give 400 zuz to my daughter as a ksuba and for her ksuba. Or for her ksuba. If it's custom people of that city to add to the appraisal of dowry, the right amount is worth is 200 zuz. The daughter should be given only 200 zuz. If the Shechemida did not say 400 zuz that any modifier, but rather 400 zuz as her ksuba, is if he said give her what is necessary, so that her ksuba will be appraised at 400 zuz. 22. If the Shechemida says give such and such clothing and such articles to my daughter as her dowry, but the price of the garment and the articles decreases afterwards, the heir is profited and they are required to give only what he was promised according to the lesser price. But similarly, if the Shechemida said, give my daughter the 400 zuz, the money from this wine, and the price of wine increases, the heir's profit, the daughter was given only 400 zuz. An incident occurred concerning a person who was being let off in fetters, and he said, give so-and-so 400 zuz from the wine in this place. So he said, you should receive 400 zuz from the price of that wine. The condemned man did not intend to give the person an amount of wine equal to 400 zuz. He intended to give the monetary amount. He specified the place from which he could collect the money to strengthen the legal power of the recipient. Another incident concerning a man who said, give my daughter the date palm. he left only 2 halves of a date palm. So he said she should receive the 2 halves of the date palm, for that was his intent. He called them a date palm. And another incident occurred concerning a person who said, give so-and-so a building contains 100 koram. It was discovered the building owned by a person who portion of this property could contain 120 koram. So he said he acquires that house because it appears that this was his intent. For everyone who gives a gift, give generously. The same applies in all analogous situations. 23, when Shechina says, give my sons a shekel each week, or even if he said, do not give them anything but a shekel each week, and it's discovered that a seller a week is necessary to meet their needs, they're given over the need. We assume that his intent was not to starve his children, but to require them not to live in a very lavish budget. 24. When a Shechina orders, do not eulogize me, you should not be eulogized. If he says, do not use funds for my estate, bury me, these words are not heeded. We do not enable him to secure the fund. We do not enable him to secure the fund of his children and make himself a burden on the community, for it is forbidden to leave him without a burial. Instead, we compel his heirs to buy him from the funds in his estate. Hillchas Zechia Matana chapter 12. 1. When Shechina asked my son, so-and-so should inherit my estate, that son alone should inherit the estate and not the other man's son. Similarly, if you make such a statement about one daughter with regard to his other daughters, one brother with regard to his other brothers, or similarly with regard to the other heirs, his words are binding too. If a healthy person makes such a statement, his words are of no consequence. 3. When the Shechina states, my property should be given to so-and-so, and after him, so-and-so, the second person leaves only what the first person leaves over. 4. If whoever the first person was fit to inherit, the Shechina, e.g. was one of the sons, the second person does not receive anything for, regardless of the expression used to give a gift to an heir, it is considered as if he were given an inheritance. An inheritance never ends. This applies even though the giver said and after him should be given to so-and-so. 5. If whoever a healthy person gave a gift in this matter and had a deed composed saying, my property should be given to you and after you to you, and so to so-and-so. Second person refused only what the first person leaves over. This applies whether or not the first person was fit to inherit the estate of the giver. 6. There is an exception to the principle stated above with regard to Shechina, who says, my property should be given to you and after you to so-and-so, and the first recipient is fit to inherit the giver's estate. If the giver explicitly states, I am not giving you this property as an inheritance that never ceases, but as a gift, and I have set a limit to it, the second person acquires what the first leaves over. For this reason, if the giver entrusted the money to a third party, which should give my sons a shekel every week, I am not giving them this money as inheritance. Afterwards, what remains of the estate after their death should be given to so-and-so. They should be given only a shekel a week, even though it does not suffice for them. 7. If a Shechina states, my property should be given to so-and-so, and after him to so-and-so, the first person named dies, the property is acquired by the second. The second person named also dies, property is given to the heirs of the second person. If whoever the second person dies during the lifetime of the first, and the first dies before the Shechina, property should be given to the heirs of the first person. 8. Although the second person named, which is only what is the first person leaves over, is forbidden for the first person to sell or give as a gift the body of property that has been given. Instead, he is entitled to reap benefits from the property until he dies, at which time the second person acquires the property. 9. If whoever the first person transgresses and sells or gives as a gift the property, the second person cannot expropriate the property from the recipient, for the second person does not have any right to the body of the property or the benefits from it, only what remains after the first person dies. Any person who advises the first person named to sell the property is called wicked, even if the estate contained servants and the first person granted them their freedom or garments and he made them shrouds for corpses. These are binding. 10. One these will apply when the first person sold or gave as a gift the property to an outside party. If whoever the first person sold or gave them as a gift to his son or to another heir, his deeds are of no consequence. Similarly, if he gave the property as a gift of a Shechina to an outside party, his deeds are of no consequence. The rationale is that the recipient of a gift given by a Shechina does not acquire until after the Shechina dies. When the first recipient dies, the property has already been acquired by the second person named by the original giver. 11. In the above situation, if the first recipient knows the debtor must pay his wife money due by virtue of ksuba, the court seeks to collect the debt from this property. Even if the first recipient is still alive, the court does not collect debt from the body of the property itself. Instead, only the proceeds from it are indentured. If the first person dies and his creditor or his wife seeks to expropriate this property, nothing at all is expropriated from them. This applies even when he made them in a paitiki or designated them for his wife, so that she collected money due by virtue of ksuba. From them, nothing is expropriated from this property because it belongs to the second person. 12. When a Shechina says to an unmarried woman, a property should be given to you and after you to so-and-so, and the woman marries, her husband is considered to be a purchaser, and the second person may not expropriate the property from him. If the woman was already married, when Shechina said, and after you to so-and-so, the second person may expropriate the property from the husband. The rationale is since she acquired the property on the condition when she was married is that though Shechina told her explicitly, and after your death, so-and-so will acquire the property and not your husband. Therefore, if she was sold the property while she was married to a husband and died while married to a husband, the property should remain in the possession of the purchaser. For the husband expropriated the property from the purchaser because his wife sold it while she was married, the second person mentioned by the original giver may expropriate the property from the husband, and then the man who purchased it from the woman may expropriate it from the second person, for she sold the property to him, and the second person is entitled only to property that the woman left over. And the cycle could continue endlessly. Needless to say, the only one who spent money for the property is the purchaser. The property is allowed to remain in his possession. Instant could have to a person who said, "The property be given to my mother, and after her to my heirs." He had a married daughter. That daughter died during her husband's lifetime, and also left him the father's mother. After she died, the elder woman also died. She said the daughter's husband does not inherit that property for her. It was only fitting for his wife to inherit, and she did not actually have a right to acquire the property until she had died. If the daughter had left a son or a daughter, they would have inherited the estate. For the expression heirs used by the deceased includes even the heirs. If the dying man had said, when the elder woman dies, the estate becomes my daughter's retroactive to the time present, the daughter's husband would inherit it after his wife's death. 13. When a person has legal record composed giving property to a son after his death, the property becomes his son's from the time his legal record is composed. The benefit of the property is retained by the father until he dies. Accordingly, the father cannot sell this property because it is already given to a son, nor can the son sell the property because it is under the father's control. If the father dies and there is produce attached to the ground on this property belongs to the son, the rationale is that a person feels a closeness to his son. If the produce has already become attached or it is ready to be harvested, it belongs to the other heirs. If the father transgresses and sells the property, the sale is binding until he dies. When he dies, the son expropriates the property from the purchaser. If there was produce attached to the property, its worth should be evaluated and credited to the purchaser, and the son must pay him for it. If the produce was attached or ready to be harvested, it belongs to the purchaser. If the son transgresses and sells the property, the purchaser does not acquire anything until the father dies. If the son sold the property during the father's lifetime, the son died, and then the father dies, the purchaser takes possession of the property when the father dies. The sale of the property by the son is not nullified because the father possesses only the right to benefit from the property, and possession of the right to benefit from the property is not the same as possession of the property itself. 14. When the deed recording a gift given by a healthy person states that the gift takes effect from today and after the person's death, it's considered to be a gift given by Kislev. The implication is that although he did acquire the body of the property from the day of the gift, he may not take possession of it and partake of its fruit until after the giver's death. 15. Following was applied with regard to a deed recording a gift, which states so-and-so should acquire a particular field after the death of the giver, whether or not the legal document records the getting. Since it mentions the date and the giver was alive on the date, they indicate that he transferred ownership of that property during his lifetime. The recipient may not take possession of it until after the giver's death. This is certainly the intent, for the giver's intent had been to transfer the property with his document after his death, he would not have dated it. Therefore, even though the document does not state that the gift takes effect from today and after the person's death, the recipient acquires the property after the giver's death. The reason we write from the present time in the legal document, although it is dated, is to clarify the matter, even though it is unnecessary. 16. When a healthy person gives a gift and composes the deed recording it during my lifetime and in my death, it's completely binding gift taking effect during the person's lifetime, for it states during my lifetime, and the fact that it states and in my death is as if it states from now until eternity. It is an embellishment of the document. 17. Perfectly righteous men and women of spiritual stature would not receive gifts from other men, but instead they would trust in God, blessed be his name, and not in generous men. And Proverbs states, one who hates gifts will live. This concludes the laws of acquisition and gifts with God's help.